Rectangular back, this time with another review. Here from Toy Biz we have the Fantastic Four The Things Sky Cycle, and this particular toy came out in 1995. Predating Marvel Legends, this was made for a series of action figures that were 5-inch in scale and really only had about 5 points of articulation. On the back of the package you can see a photo of the figures that I'm speaking of. They had the Thing, of course, Black Bolt, Mole Man, Terrax, Mr. Fantastic, Silver Surfer, Doctor Doom. So a lot of figures that would later become Marvel Legends. Again, these were just 5-inch scale, very simple. Wasn't really until they started doing the Fantastic Four classics and the Spider-Man classics that we really started to get really nice articulation in figures. But this is a little bit on the small side, but you can get it to work with 6-inch scale figures, and that's why I got it. So yeah, not a whole lot to show in the box, just again the Thing riding it. And let's go ahead and get it open and get a closer look. Very quickly I wanted to go over the instructions and the decals that the Sky Cycle come with. This thing's been sitting in the package for 20 years, and unfortunately the way it was packed, the parts were sitting on top of the decal sheet, so it's pretty wrinkled. Wasn't planning on using most of those decals anyway, really just the instrument panels. That's probably it. So not a big deal for me, but keep that in mind if you're looking for one that's in perfect condition. If it's a sealed package, you're not going to know until you get it open what shape the decals are in. And to be honest, a lot of decals after 20 years, you'd be lucky that they're going to stick anymore. But yeah, everything's pretty well self-explanatory as far as putting everything together. You don't need any tools or glue, everything snaps together, and pretty straightforward as far as where to place the decals, and they're just stick-on. They're not water-based, so kids get help from your parents, but otherwise it's pretty easy. Here we have the vehicle out of the package and fully assembled. Only thing it's missing are the decals, which I just showed you. And overall, I'm very happy with it. I think it's pretty well constructed. It's a little bit on the fragile side, but it wasn't too difficult to snap together. There was a little bit of fear about when you pop these on about snapping off the little teeth that go into the pegs there. So do take your time, and don't make sure you're applying equal amounts of force. Kids, definitely get help from your parents. This little slot here acts as a nice storage compartment for the missiles that it comes with. You can see the missile there on this side, and it does have a missile launcher on the top there, which you just pop this off and can angle this. Obviously, if there's a rider on top, you can't really have it firing a missile into his back, but just pops in there, and it doesn't have a firing mechanism per se. It just has a spring inside, so you can just pull back on it with pull back on one of the fins and let go, and it'll actually go pretty far. I launched it probably about 5 feet. So again, kids, watch out when you're playing with this thing. You don't want to poke out somebody's eyeball. But yeah, and if you want to, you can store it in there. You just have to worry about whatever figure you have on poking into his back. So that comes off easily. And only downside is that there's no swivel on this thing to wish you could rotate it backwards to shoot at bad guys that are chasing you. That's the only real complaint about the missile launcher. But it does stay up pretty well. It's got some teeth there. It's ratcheted, so I like that. And then on this, you can just push these in on the side, and they'll stay in there really well. You can turn it sideways and they won't fall off. And let's see, the other mechanism it comes with are these pedals that if you press down, they will launch the mechanism forward, and you can get it swinging in kind of like the fast attack mode. So that's very cool. I wouldn't. I was kind of pushing down on it to add some friction. I would be kind of concerned about these banging together too often, that you might end up breaking. These pieces just slide on, these little wing parts. They slide into that mechanism. So I think if you're doing that too often at full speed, they might end up cracking and breaking. So I would say take your time when you're launching that mechanism. I wouldn't want you to break your toy, especially, you know, this thing's vintage. And yeah, the only other moving parts on it, really, these do hinge slightly, so you can get a little bit of range of motion on them, but it doesn't look like they're meant to go, you know, all the way sideways. And, you know, same with the ones on the back. They're even less articulated, I would say. And the only other parts that move are these handles for a figure to grab onto, and they do stay up really nice, and they have pretty good range of motion. This one kind of hinges out a little bit. I didn't notice that before. This one doesn't really do that, so I don't know if it's loose. I think it's just a little loose on mine. There you go. I guess they do kind of pop out a little bit. That's not too bad, which is, I guess, good for figures that have less limited range of motion there. But yeah, I do like how they will stay in position well. They don't just flop down. There's, at least right now, this thing's new, so it really hasn't been played with. But speaking of figures, let's go ahead and throw some figures on there and get a comparison of how it is in scale. Since this vehicle is supposed to go with the Fantastic Four, I figured I'd show you Mr. Fantastic on it first. This is from Toy Biz, and he does have articulated fingers, so it works really well because those grips or handles for the steering mechanism are quite large. So your typical newer Marvel Legends that have gun-holding hands probably won't fit in on those grips very well without kind of stretching them out a lot. So these older figures with the articulated fingers probably going to work a little bit better. But yeah, you can see he does look like he fits on that fairly well. You know, it's a little bit small. Like I said, this was made for 5-inch figures, and he's a 6-inch scale figure. But yeah, I think that that looks pretty damn cool. You know, he kind of sits a little bit high on there. And let's go ahead and show a larger. Let's go ahead and use the Thing, since this is what it was made for. Well, as you can see, the Thing is way too big to fit on this thing, on this vehicle. Now, obviously, if you have an old 5-inch Toy Biz thing that was made for this, then it would work. But this is a Thunder Launch thing from the Fantastic Four Classics line. It has great articulation and sculpt, and very, you know, comic accurate looking figure. But he's just way too big to fit on here. Let's try a smaller Thing and see if that works. Here we have the Thing from the Fantastic Four movie line, also from Toy Biz, and as you can see, he's still way too big, so this really won't work for large figures, but your smaller 6-inch scale normal sized human figures should work out okay. I'm going to try a different Marvel Legend figure and a Star Wars Black Series and give you another look. I was able to use this thing for my Fantastic car that I modified for him to fit in there, so this is, the most user-friendly figure for trying to fit into a vehicle, and it's just not going to work with this thing. Here we have the 6-inch Star Wars Black Series ObiWan Kenobi, and you can see from the front it looks okay because you can't really tell that his hands are not able to grip those handles, but as we rotate it from the side, it's pretty obvious that he's just not going to be grabbing those handles at all. I suppose with some modification you could maybe Dremel them down a bit and have him maybe leaning forward a little bit more, and he could grip them. But yeah, it's good from the front, but yeah, it's not going to work from the side. Let's try a different figure, see how that goes. Here we have the Marvel Legends movie Gamora figure on the vehicle, and it doesn't look too bad. She can get her toe touching there. The seat, it just doesn't go back very far, so it'll always going to have this gap unless you have them sitting way up top. So it's a little awkward for a lot of figures to fit on, but you can kind of fudge it with her hand. It does. You can stretch out the hand so that it will go over the grip there. But yeah, it doesn't look too bad from the front. And let's see if we can't get this hand over the handle. Yeah, it does stretch over it, so can get it to work pretty well. So overall, it doesn't work for every figure. Even a lot of 5-inch scale figures just don't fit on there properly because of the limited leg articulation. The seat is one of the biggest problems, just getting figures to sit close enough to be able to grab the handles. You're always going to seem to have that kind of space sitting underneath it. So don't know if there's, probably the best thing to do is maybe put some sort of padding underneath the seat and kind of make it look a little bit more suited for whatever figure you're going to use it on. But yeah, I'm happy with it. It's going to work well for what I want to use it for. So with that, hopefully you guys liked the review. You hit the like button, share with your friends, subscribe if you haven't already, and I always love hearing back from you guys, so please leave a comment below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.
That's crispy.